Hello guys, welcome to Maturaexpress. My name is Victoria and today I have the support of Sophia. And today we'll be talking about the differences between the UK and the Austrian educational system. So thanks for staying with us today. I would like to excuse that we're a little bit late today because we have had a lot of technical problems and it's still really difficult to know which buttons to press, so you have to be patient with us and I hope it will get better with time. Okay, as I already mentioned, today we'll be talking about the differences between the UK and the Austrian education system. And I would like to give you a short overview what we're going to do today. First, I would like to look at a worksheet with you, which is about compare and contrast. So in order to talk about differences and similarities, you have to know some keywords. Then we'll talk about the educational system in Austria, and we'll read through internet page together and skim through it a little bit. And then we'll look at a graphic of the Austrian education system, which I think is very practical, as it gives you a lot of specific translation of, for example, a Polytechnische Schule, which is sometimes can be really confusing in German because we have a lot of different types of schools, and to translate these terms into English can be even more complicated. And then we'll be looking at the education system in the UK. And today I will not only be working with the internet and some web pages, which are very useful, but also with the book Englisch für die Berufsreifeprüfung Hauptmodul. And I think this one is very useful because it covers a lot of topics and it's very detailed, and it has a lot of help for you on the side if you don't know any words. So okay, so now we're going to start, hopefully, with the worksheet, compare and contrast. Could you switch on? Thank you. What I would like to mention here is that, well, in order to express similarities or differences, you need to know some basic phrases or keywords which you may use then in your presentation or in your text. So in the A-levels, I think it's very important to have like a repertoire of certain keywords in order to express comparison or contrast. So I would suggest that you may know about 5 words or 5 keywords in this list, in order for you to have a variety and to not be too repetitive in your A-levels. So if we look at the first paragraph, it's about keywords commonly used to express comparison include. So here, if you look at them, they are really similar. There's just a small nuance where they differ. For example, like, same, both, the same as, similar, in the same way, and so on. Here I would like to mention, if you look at as well as, this is a form to express a comparison, and basically you can just insert any type or any adjective you want, as big as small as, whatever. So any word you can put in here, in between the two as. Okay, so now I would like to go on to the keywords commonly used to express contrast. Include, although, however, differ, unlike, even though, yet, but, instead, on the contrary. On the other hand, and here there's something missing because on the one hand, and then there's on the other hand. Okay, so I give you an example related to a topic. In Austria, students are don't have to wear school uniforms, whereas in the UK they have to. So it's a contrast. Well, I think if you know at least 5 to 8 of these words per paragraph, I think you will be fine. So it's not about knowing every keyword or every phrase in order to express something, but if you have your basic keywords you use, you can also vary them a little bit, so it will be easier. But you don't have to know each word. So now what I would like to mention here is that, as there are also some sentences for you, that it's very important that you learn, in general, vocabulary work is about learning words in context and not isolated. So the best way, or a better way than just learning the English word and the German translation, is to trying to include the word, the new learned vocabulary, in a different context or in a sentence in order for you to understand it better, because some words also have a different meaning in different contexts, so this is also very important. And now we're going to read these 3 sentences in order for you to understand what I mean. So when you compare one subject to another, you show how the two are alike or similar. So this is about comparison. Example: the dog, like the cat, or just as the cat, is a household pet. Here you could also use similar to the cat, so similar to something, similarly to the cat, or the dog as the cat, or the dog and the cat have in common. So you have a lot of variety for you to express similarity. And I think it will be just the same as with contrast. So when you contrast 2 subjects, you show how they are different. Example: the dog, unlike the cat, is dependent on its master. So the dog is dependent on its master, whereas the cat is not. Or the dog is dependent on its master, contrary to the cat, which is not. Okay, so it was a little bit more difficult, but still you see that there's a lot of variety. Hi, Sophia. Do you want to say something?
Sorry.
No problem. Nice to have some guests. Okay, so sometimes both comparison and contrast are used in the same sentence. Example: both the dog and the cat make good household pets, but a dog requires more attention than a cat. But you could also say here, yet the dog requires more attention, although, however. So here it's more easier to include other keywords of contrast. Okay, so as I already mentioned, it's very important to know some keywords on compare and contrast in order for you to express differences and similarities. And now I would like to go through the web page with you. It's from Migration TV, so and it explains the educational system in Austria. So I think you all know how it's how students has to which classes they have to take, and from which age. So you might know that already, but still expressing it in English may be a little bit difficult for you. So as you all know, Education in Austria is compulsory from the age of 6 to 15. So you have 9 years of education. So you have the primary, the Volksschule, then the lower secondary, and then you have das Pflichtjahr, das 5. Okay, so I don't know what's it called in English, I have to look it up. Okay, now we'll look at the text. So children from age 1 to 6, very young and preschool children are taken care of in nurseries, Kinderkrippen for babies and very young children, in kindergartens from age 3 to 6 and preschool classes. So this is not compulsory. What I also would like to say is that in Austria there is no compulsory duty of being in school, so you have to be educated, but it doesn't have to be in school. For example, your parents can say, okay, well, I don't want to give my child into school, I want to educate them by myself, but the child has to take, at the end of a semester or a year, it has to take exams in order to prove that it really is or has been educated properly by the parents. Okay, so now I will take some notes and I will show you them later. This is Austria, UK. Okay, so as I already mentioned, in Austria we have compulsory education from the age 6 to 15, or could vary a little bit, so 9 years. Okay, so and before there's the kindergarten, Kinderkrippen, and so on. So here it is also written, schooling is compulsory for 9 years in Austria from age 6 to 15, 1st to 9th grade. The first 4 years of compulsory education are completed in primary schools, Volksschule oder Grundschule. From age 10, children can attend either a junior high school or secondary school. So here I would like to add that in Austria there are Hauptschulen no longer exist, so there are only the new middle school, which is called here. Okay, so you either can attend the lower secondary school, so the untere AHS, or the new middle school, Neue Mittelschule. So you have those options. Or the lower grades of a higher general secondary school. And the 9th school year can be completed at a polytechnical school or in other types of schools. So you have the primary, you have the secondary, and then you still have 1 year left. And you still have to attend classes at that time. And then there's also special education. There are also special schools for disabled children or children with special educational needs for the first 8 to 9 years of their school education. Okay. In many cases, however, these children are also educated alongside others in standard schools in integration classes. So I think this is something that is still an ongoing process in Austria, and I think it will be integrational classes will be here in about maybe 5 to 10 years, if I'm not incorrect. And for example, in South Tyrol, they already have classes where every student is in the same school or in the same class. So there's no distinction between if you have learning difficulties or if you have some kind of impairment. Then in Austria there are also a lot of other types of schools. For example, intermediate vocational schools from age 14 to 18 or 19. conclude with a technical examination. So as I already mentioned before, the terms are sometimes really difficult, but I will show you a graphic later on which is really helpful, and it helps you to know the exact translation of the German. For example, pre-vocational schools is Polytechnische Schule, and it will help you a lot. Okay, so, and after having finished your school or your education, which is usually you have 4 years of primary education, 4 years of lower secondary education, and then 4 or 5 years of upper secondary education here in Austria. And then in the last year of your education, you get to the A levels, which you are aiming at right now. And after having passed the A levels, you are allowed to study anywhere in Austria, except if this is a if you have to take a test in order to get into the university. For example, if you want to study medicine, you have to take a test, but otherwise the doors are open for you and you can go basically anywhere you want to. Okay, so, and at university, well, I think there's so much variety in Austria. You can study basically anything, in my opinion, but you still have to move somewhere else maybe. And well, at university the bachelor usually takes 3 years, and then you have a master degree which takes approximately 2 years, and then you have your doctorate or doctor's degree, which is also 2 or 3 years. Okay, so this was it about the educational system in Austria, but still I would like to show you the graphic right now because I think it's really helpful. So it's from the webpage bildungssystem.at/en, so English. So, and I would like to go through that right now, because if you look at kindergarten, for example, it gives you a specific definition from which age. For example, the Austrian education system can be entered by the following options: kindergarten or special needs education. And usually kindergarten is from the age 1 to 6. I think here is also the Kinderkrippe is also included here. And you have the Vorschule, preschool. So this is kindergarten, okay? And here you can also see that from the age, from the age 6 to 15, as you can see it here, education in Austria is compulsory. So here you can see preschool. If you click at that, 1 year preschool, Vorschule, it's for children who have not reached a certain level yet, and parents decide and the teachers decide for the child to still remain 1 class lower. Then we have school lower secondary, which is the Unterstufe. And as it is correctly written here already, because in the other webpage it was wrong, there's only the new secondary school, so Neue Mittelschule, the academic secondary school lower cycle, so AHS Unterstufe, and also there's the special needs education, which is the school level from 5 to 8, so 5th to 8th. Okay, then, so we had primary school, then we have school upper secondary, and here it gets a little bit complicated, and I would like to emphasize that this graphic is very helpful if you don't know the specific translation. For example, integrative education. Then what I wanted to show you is pre-vocation year. Exactly, Polytechnische Schule, for example, is pre-vocational school. Vocational means has something to do with your work you do afterwards, so Beruf. And in this schools you usually have not only your A levels, but you're also more qualified than others for a specific work later on you're going to do. So, okay. And then we have tertiary education, which is basically any university, pädagogische Hochschule, and so on. Okay, so this was it on the Austrian school system, and now I would like to go to the school system in the UK, because, okay. So now, first of all, I will look at the graphic, which I will show you later on, and afterwards we're going to work with the book. Okay, I hope you can see it. Okay, so so as you can see here, I'm going to take some notes. In the UK, education is compulsory from age 5 to 16, and then you still have to take either you have to go to school 2 more years, or you have to specialize in any kind of profession. So since 2013, I think, in the UK, education is compulsory from the age 5 to 18. So those are 13 years. Okay. So the difference here to the Austrian school system is, for example, that the primary school starts from 5 years, and it, children will be separated at the age of 11 years. So they start 1 year earlier and they stop 1 year later. So basically what you can say is that the primary school in the UK is 6 years, and in Austria it's only 4 years. So I think on the topic there's also a lot of debate, because it is said that if it's better for children for them to stay longer together, especially in the primary school, in order for them to make much more progress. So I think the Austrian school system should put more focus on the primary school, because I think it's one of the most important phases of children. So, well, but that's just my opinion. Okay, then they also have secondary school, which is from the years 11 or 12 to 16. And then they have to take an exam, which is called GCSE. And then they go either to college or to College of Further Education, and they also take exams. And then they can go to university. Now I would like to work with the book, as it describes the UK education system much more precisely and in greater detail, and I would like to show you that right now on the visualizer. Thank you. So I have to zoom in a little bit. I hope you can read that. So, okay. Oops, this is not good. So, just a little bit more zooming. Okay. So, I would like to go through with you I would like to show you my notes. I just wrote down that compulsory education in Austria and in the UK and also in the primary school is different. You have 4 years and 6 years in the UK. Okay, so now we're going to read this text and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so in Britain, compulsory education lasts from age 5 to age 16, which we already noticed in the other graphic. Many 3- and 4-year-olds go to nursery schools, which may be full-time or part-time. So it's similar to Kindergarten, Krabbelstube. By the Education and Skills Act in 2008, Parliament decided to raise the leaving age for compulsory education to 18, with the change taking effect from the year 2013, which I already mentioned before. Okay, so what is quite interesting in the UK is that you have 2 types of schools, which are the public schools and the state schools. State schools are those where anyone can go to, just like here in Austria. And they also have public schools, which is quite funny because they are actually private schools. So it's basically the same as in Austria. We also have state schools and also private schools, I would say. And I think saying public schools is a specific connotation to the United Kingdom, and it can be quite confusing sometimes. So if you may read it here, the term stems from public historically refers to the fact that the public was open to the paying public. So, as opposed to a religious school that was only open to members of a certain church. So this is still something from the past. Okay, so I think we don't have to read through it. So obviously you have to pay tuition fees for public or private schools, also in the UK and also in Austria. So there's no big difference. And now I would like to go through, because I think on the graphic it was a little bit complicated, and here it's really explained pretty good, and it also tells us a little bit about the subjects. Okay, so as in Austria, also in the UK, they have primary education, as I already mentioned before. In Austria, primary education is only for 4 years, whereas in the UK it's for 6 years. Just to remind you, compulsory education in Austria is from 6 to 15 years, whereas in the UK compulsory education is from the age from 5 to 18 years. So it's 4 years longer. Okay, so now let's talk about the primary education. This may be 2 years in infant schools and 4 years in junior schools, or combined junior and infant schools lasting 6 years. So this is the basis of the education, and then you go on with the subjects. So they also have core subjects in the primary education. I think with us it's maths, German, physical education, and so on. And I think in the 3rd or 4th grade in Austria, you start to study a little bit of English, so the basic vocabulary. And then the subject in national curriculum in the UK are English, mathematics, and science. So Well, this is very interesting. I don't really remember having science. Do you remember having science in primary school?
Primary school?
So,
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't remember either. I don't think so. Anyway, okay, so now let's go back to secondary education. So this will also be a difference. Secondary education. This covers schooling from the age of 11 to the current minimal school leaving age of 16. Here I would have to mention that this is not up to date. I think the book was published in 2012, and as it's written on the page, on the previous page, this law was enforced in 2013, so now they have to be in school until the age of 18 in the UK. Okay, about 90% of all children of this age go to comprehensive schools. Anyone can attend them. They are non-selective, and many of them have become specialist schools. This means that they specialize in a particular field such as sports, technology or modern languages and are subsidized by the state. So subsidized means fördern. Less than 5% of all school children go to grammar schools or secondary modern schools. Okay, so as you can see here now, you have three choices where you want to go after you have been to primary school. So you can either go to a comprehensive school or a secondary modern school, which is from the age to 11 to 16, or you can go to a grammar school, which is from the age from 11 to 18, so 7 years. So if you, bless you, if you go from the primary school right to the grammar school, you already have all your compulsory school years and you may start working somewhere. Okay, so key stage 3. So now we're here with high schools. Okay. So the subjects taught remain broadly the same as those in primary education. So we're still in secondary education. In addition, schools also have to provide careers education and guidance, as well as sex and relationship education. Well, so this would also be a difference to the Austrian education system because, well, we do have biology and the topic sex and relationships, not really. The topic is covered, but it's not a sole subject for itself. So that would also be a difference. So, for example, you could say in the UK, sex and relationship education is an own subject in school, whereas in Austria it is not, or it is just a small category or small topic in biology, for example. So the subjects are a mix of compulsory and optional courses. So you have your compulsory courses, which is English, mathematics, science, ICT, physical education, which is sports, and citizenship, which is basically knowing about your own country and knowing about politics in your country and all around the world. So in Austria we also don't have citizenship. Well, we have history and geography, but not a specific topic or a subject only on that topic. Okay, and you have a lot of optional courses, which I think is basically in Austria. You could say that you have your fixed timetable, so you may not change a lot. And here in the UK, you can choose freely, so you can tailor your courses to your own needs or to your own preferences. which I think is actually quite interesting and quite good. So and then afterwards you have the General Certificate of Secondary Education, which is an exam you have to pass or you have to take in order to be able to go to university. So I would like to read the definition now. Sorry, I'm going to So students can choose between about 50 academic and applied subjects, and in most of them 2 different levels of examination are offered. At the end of the 2-year GCSE course, candidates receive a grade for each subject that they have set. The pass grades from highest to lowest are A star, A, B, C, D, F and G, although GCSEs are the main qualification taken by 14 to 16-year-olds. They are available to anyone who would like to study a subject that interests them. So after having finished your GCSE exam, which is basically it's a little bit like I don't know, I think we don't have something similar to that in Austria, because it's at the age of 16 and then you still have 2 years to go. So you could say that whereas in the UK you have to take an exam at the age of, after having passed 11 years of education exactly, you have to pass the GCSE, which does not exist, or there's no equivalent in Austria. Then if you have passed the exam, you can go into further education, which is, I'm going to show you, 5 or more A star to C grades, including English and Maths, is the usual requirement for taking A levels, either in a school 6th form, at a 6th form college, a further educational college or a specialist college after leaving secondary school. So further education is which leads you to the A levels. So it's basically the same as the Matura in Austria. So students typically study for 2 years, known as years 12 and 13, or lower 6th and upper 6th. They may choose between science, language and creative subjects. In addition, in recent years a variety of vocational courses have been added to the curriculum. So these are those courses which help you to develop your skills in a certain profession. Okay, so and then you have your, in the end you have your GCE advanced level exams, and then is you're free to work or to go to university. Now I would like to go back to the computer, okay, and just take a quick look at the tertiary education, tertiäre Bildung, so university. So you can either go to, it's nearly the same as in Austria, so you can either go to university or to university or college of further education. Then you get the first 3 years you get your bachelor's degree, 2 more years you have your master's degree, and then your PhD in 1 year. I think in Austria it's 2 years, but I'm not sure about that, and you need to check that. And okay, so well, now we are through with the educational systems with both of them. I think there are a lot of differences, and now I would like to ask Sophia if it's okay for you.
Yeah, sure.
Well, how was it for you in the Austrian school system, did you have any difficulties, or what was your impression? How were your experience?
Well, I didn't have many experience in other in comparison to or the Austrian system in comparison to another school system. I mean, I was once in France where I went to school for 6 months, but yeah, I didn't really get to know the system very well, but it also fit my demands, or it was also fine. So I think the Austrian school system is quite a good one, but yeah, nevertheless there are a few problems or a few things which could be better. Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's the same as I mentioned before, because children are already separated very early in primary school, so this could be improved a lot. What I also like to mention is that teachers of primary schools, I think there should be a lot more emphasis on them, because I think they do a really important job, and it's like the basics of our education, and also in kindergarten, I think. And because in the upper secondary, for example, or in the university, people are already nearly grown up, so they also know by what they want to do and how to behave, if you can say that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important to also focus primary education and kindergarten and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for your intervention today. So
Back
yeah,
big again, or only?
yeah, or to me, you can. Yeah. Okay, so as you've seen today, there are a lot of differences between the Austrian and the UK education system. For example, I would like to sum up a little bit. In Austria, for example, the compulsory education is from the age from 6 to 15 years. So to sum it up, 9 years. And in the UK, whereas in the UK, compulsory education is from the age 5 to 18. So 13 years. And as I already mentioned before, in Austria, primary school is only for 4 years, whereas in the UK, primary school is 6 years. Then what you could also mention is that at the age of 16, students in the UK have to pass a GCSE exam in order for them to go into further education, and afterwards for them to reach the A-levels. And in Austria, there's only there are only the A-levels which you have to take. What I forgot to mention is that in the UK we have compulsory school uniforms, whereas in Austria students can basically wear anything they want. So if we take a look, I'm just Googling it. So if you could switch back to the computer just once more. So they were all the same, and I think this is a different topic, and own topic you could really talk about, and you could also list the advantages and disadvantages. And then I think I think that it is. Could you? Sorry, that it is. I think I gave you already a lot of information you can work with, and I hope you had a little bit of fun. And you can check out our video from last week of Thursday, which was about environment and pollution. and otherwise you may subscribe to our channel, and thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you soon next Thursday at 7 p.m. Okay, bye.